Right, in this video I'm just going to quickly create a logo. You can do any product that you want for this unit, and so your logo is going to be in keeping with your product as long as it sticks with your Awesome Graphics corporate ideals style, which we've said is like this retro-y flat design. Okay, now my inspiration, and you need inspiration, is old Activision games from the Atari VCS. Oops, if I type Atari right, it'll be good. And I'll show you what I mean, and then I'm going to try and mimic this. So I'm going to just go on an image search for this. So something like that. Okay, where they've got this few sets of colours. So I'm going to create something like this, and my product is going to be a game of pong. Okay, do the old bat and ball game, but I'm gonna style it up a little bit. So it's going to have this sort of theme where there's some like coloured lines coming out. Can't see my arm gestures, but I'm wobbling my arms about. But you'll get what I mean by this. Now, I'm going to use fireworks, but in reality, if you're familiar with Photoshop, you can use this. Okay, but you know, if you're doing graphics, you might be. Okay, but I'm going to use fireworks because it's quite nice for this sort of work. So I'm going to create a new document. Now, Harge has created a few videos about fireworks, starting from the very basics of creating a document. So I'm going to create this document. I want this to be high resolution, so I'm going to make it 600 pixels per inch, and I'm going to make my image, just so I can see it on screen, 800, not 80, 800 by 800. Okay. And what that'll allow me to do is to scale it. And we're using Fireworks because it's a vector graphics program, which makes you easy to scale images without them going all blocky and blurry. Okay, now I'm going to do a little rough sketch using the brush tool just to show what I'm going to do. So I'm going to have, let's pick a brush, let's make it a bit bigger than that. So I'm going to have the right in Pong. It's not going to look much better than this, to be honest, when I've finished. And there's going to be a ball, and then coming in, dragging behind it are going to be various colours. These might not be the colours. So it looks a little bit like that. Looks a little bit like that. Okay, but that's what I'm going to aim. So that's my little rough sketch. What you might do is do a little layout sketch on paper before you start. Okay, but that's what I'm going to hope to achieve. Okay, now, one thing that you'll want to do, I think by default when you load Fireworks for the first time, it's over on this right hand side, it's on pages. We want to put it on layers, because what that allows you to do is everything that you draw, and I'm going to draw a few things on in a minute, gets stuck on its own layer. Okay, so if I just drag that up a little bit, or drag that one down, and I can select each of the layers. Harge has got all this in his video, so if you want to like recap, I'm not going to bang on about it. Okay, and we can hide and show layers. So if I want to get rid of that little sketch, just tick the eyeball. Okay. Right, so I'm going to start off by doing my lettering. Now I could do this, use the font tool, pick one of the fonts, and there are loads of fonts on there, and we've had some custom fonts downloaded and installed. I can't think of what the name of it, that one looks new. Okay, so I could actually just go Pong like that and then change the size of it if I wanted to, but I'm gonna make mine from scratch. So I could have done that to do the Pong. If you want to use fonts, you can do that. That's somebody dying in the background there. Like I say, all my bits are like this. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create rectangles. I'm going to make the P first, and I'm going to do this by joining a rectangle and a donut. Okay, so I'm going to move the donut where I want it. I want it to sit like that. Okay, but I don't want like bits sticking out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the modification tools, and you'll see that over on this layer thing it's done that. I want just half of this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, and you'll notice there's a little arrowy selector thing. If you click that, it brings up all the list of tools. So I'm going to drag a rectangle over that, and I'm going to use this to slice off part of that donut. So I'm going to select the donut and the rectangle, so I'm holding down the shift key to do that, and then I'm going to go up to modify, and then I'm going to say combine paths, and I'm going to punch. And what this does is this will take the item that's on top, which is the rectangle, away from the other item, which is the donut. Bang. Okay, and if you've done the wrong one, so I might have accidentally done this one, I might have gone combine, oh let's do union, oh didn't want that, I've ended up with a briefcase on its side. Okay, just undo, and I can do it again, and just try. Sometimes just playing and seeing what you get, but I want that. And now what I can do is I can move this over to my little stick, join them together. Now they're separate, whoops, I've moved them. I want them to all be one shape, so what I can do, drag and highlight, make sure that little black tool's on. Then I can say combine paths, and I can say union, and that makes one shape. I'm going to make an O, but I'm going to cheat because I can just use the donut tool to make an O. Get it the size I want. And I'm going to make an N. Now an N, I want it to look like the top half of a donut, so I'm going to grab the top half of a donut. Oh, I've made it a bit big. Use the little change tool. Really, I want it to be the same size as the O, so I'm going to copy and paste the O, which gives me the amusing poo. For those in the audience who've fallen asleep, I've just generated poo on the screen. Right, over on the layers, to make this a bit easier for myself, I'm going to double click there, and I'm going to change the name. So I know that's going to be my N. That donut is my O. This one that's now got this stupid name composite path is my P. And that makes it easier when I'm editing. Okay, but I want this O, but I'm going to chop off the bottom half. So I'm going to do exactly what I did before. I'm going to use the rectangle tool, and I'm going to just do that. Lay it over. Use the selection tool. So I've got them both selected, and I'm going to punch again. So I'm going to say modify, combine paths, punch. Okay, so that gives me top half of my N. I now need to make the two sticks. Okay, so what I'm going to now do is I'm going to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. So if I hold down Control and do plus, it lets me zoom in. It looks a bit blocky, but that's just because we're zooming. And I'm just going to generate two rectangles, or one rectangle at the bottom. And you can use the little pink guide tool to get the size roughly right. One thing that I haven't mentioned is I am not using the outline for these shapes. I'm just using a coloured fill. Okay, so the outline is set to be transparent, so there is no outline. If I have an outline on, let's say I picked, so we have that, you get that. Okay, which looks a bit naff to be fair. But if you don't want that, you can just select transparent colour, and it says transparent button there, and it goes away again. Right, so I want another one of those. Hopefully it's going to be the same size, so I say copy, Control C, and paste with Control V, and I'll move it to that side. It's not in the right place, so just use the cursor key. Alright, now I want to join those together, so I'm going to highlight, just drag around those three, and I'm going to say modify union, so I get one shape again. Okay. I'm going to create a G. Now my G is going to look fancy, so I'm going to use an O. I'll just draw a sketch of what my G is going to look like. It's going to look like this, and then I'm going to make it look like that. So it's going to be actually two donuts with a donut cut, with a bit cut away. Alright, so let me just undo that. So I'm going to copy my donut because I want it to be the same size again. And then I want another one. But that looks like an 8. but I want to join it so it's got a chunk missing out. So I'm going to do a bit more punching. So to start off with, I'm going to punch out that bit. So I'm going to take out that corner. So I've got that outline on now, so I don't want that. Okay, I'm going to select, using the black arrow, the donut, and I'm going to do punch. So combine paths, punch. But I want to cut a little bit more off, so it's a bit further round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another square or rectangle, but I'm going to rotate it. So if I use that little scale tool, and as I've got my mouse around, you see the little rotate icon. So I'm just going to turn it, and then I'm going to move that so it's overlapping. Now, that's interesting. This might not work. Let's try it. Modify, combine paths, punch. Oh, it did work. So now I've got that. I can move it up. So I'm going to sit it. That'll do me. Using Shift, I can click on both of them, and then I can say combine paths, union, and I get one shape. It's how people make fonts. So if I zoom back out, I've got my nice Pong text. So I haven't used the text tool at all. Okay. Right, now I'm going to do my ball with me, just me little shapes coming out, and I'm going to do that with rectangles. So I'm just going to position this layer. I'm going to create a rectangle about that long. I'm going to change the colour. So I'm going to go with some retro colours. So I'm going to make one that colour. Then what I'm going to do, I want two more the same thickness. So I'm going to just copy paste and use those pink things to line up again. So I'm going to change the colour of that, make it a little bit darker. And then I'm going to copy paste again. Just line it up using those little pink marker tools. I'm going to change the colour again. Okay, so I've got, you know, it looks retro already, I think. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the ball from Pong, which is using the Ellipse Tool. Now the Ellipse Tool lets you do egg shapes. If you want to make circles, you have to hold down, I think it is Shift, and then it will make circles. Okay, now I'm going to pick a colour for that, and I think the colour I'm going to use, I might just use a grey colour or something like that. Okay, again I haven't got an outline on, and then what I can do, I can leave it like that, and I might want to join these two together, so I'm going to use group. Okay, and then when I move them, all those four objects move together, and then I can position it where I want it. And that's my logo done. Okay, so I've used lots of different techniques and tools there, and you've got like a little tip list. So I've done like grouping, sizing, I've done combining paths and making new objects up and things like that. Okay, I've got one more thing I want to show, but I'll do that in a separate video.